All right, before we dive into the review today, we're going to be taking a look at two things today. One, a game, right? Quacks of Quedlinburg Megabox. And number two, the Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro. Now, you know I do 3D printer reviews on here from time to time, and I haven't done one in a while, so we're going to save that for the back end of the review. And the reason is because currently, while I'm filming this part, I'm printing some bit boxes for Quacks of Quedlinburg. They look like little crates, and they have it where you can slot the recipe card in it, and it holds the resources. It's just a brilliant little thing. So we'll save that review for the end of the video, and then we'll do the Quacks of Quedlinburg. So let's go with it. Question of the day: what is your favorite push your luck game? A game in which you have to decide, do I stop moving or do I keep going to get better points? Or maybe I'll mess up if I don't. Because today we're looking at Quacks of Quedlinburg's The Megabox. Basically, it's the base game and all its expansions, but there's a reason they call it the Megabox. It is a big box. And so, which brings me to a quandary, a conundrum about putting it on the shelf. Does it make more sense logically, spatially, on a Kallax, or in my case, the Target shelf over here, because it's got a little bit of space off the wall? Does it make more sense to put the Megabox by itself up there, with it sticking out a little bit, or does it make sense to have the base game, which is right over there, and the two expansions? Which one takes up more room? I feel like it's probably the base game with the two expansion boxes, but if you get everything into one box. But again, this is a game for people who have not bought either of the expansions before, or the base game perhaps, and they want to play it, because Quacks of Quedlinburg is one of the greatest games of all time. I will say that on record. I believe it's pretty high in my top 100. I'll check. Probably won't, but anyway, let's take a look at what the Megabox comes with, what it does, and we'll come back up and talk final thoughts right now. Alright, so here are the components of the two expansions that come in Quacks of Quedlinburg Megabox. Now, there's no new content per se in the box, but it comes with the base game and the two expansions. So if you haven't jumped on this game already, first of all, it's an amazing game. Second of all, here's the two expansions. I'm going to kind of go through what these expansions do, because I've never done a review on the two of these. I'm pretty sure I did a review of Quacks, but you can look at that some other time. So, first, let's take a look at the easiest one, which would be the herb witches. It's delicious. A little herb witch with some lettuce, some tomato. No, that's not what it is. Anyway, you've got these three witches types, silver, bronze, and gold. I don't know why that's in that order, but that's the order it shows it in the rule book, and the order in which you do it. You have to spend one of these types of coins to use their power, but essentially during the game, you're going to get these options to do these special powers, and they're all really great. They're all really, really great, in fact. My favorite is this one. It says remove the full bonus die even though your pot exploded. Sorry, that's not my favorite. It's this one here. Use your flask after your pot explodes. That's brilliant. That takes away the push your luck element of pushing your luck for one time. Then you have these over here. Just the point is you spend a coin and get these bonuses. So there's not a lot that comes with the herb witches. Now, where the game takes a bigger toll, or a bigger expansion, is the fact that there are the Alchemist's expansion. Now this is cool. You have these patients. You're going to draw the patient chips out of the bag, and there are more over there. I'm just showing you 4 of them right here. And then you're going to take the condition card, or the essence card, of that condition. So this guy has chicken eyes. He's got an earworm, an actual, literal earworm. Look at that. It's delightfully cute. Witch's hump, also, smiling. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place it on your new essence flask board over here. Now, essentially, you're going to get an essence marker that will move up this track. And in the new phase, called the essence phase, you're going to get the bonuses associated with whatever your essence track is connected to with these little flasks. One thing Quacks does really well is make all of its art line up. It's functional and it looks great. And this fits right onto the top of your board. Plus, the little expansion from the witches is this will fit on the side of your sideboard. So everything fits nice and neat. This is probably the best example of a game doing that, and I've said that for years. Now, the way this works is you're going to get a point, an essence point, for each different color in your cauldron. You're also going to get to move ahead 1 additional space if you total exactly 7. And then also, if the people to the left and right of you explode, you're going to move up. And wherever your essence marker stops is the bonus you get. Now, some of them will give you rat stones, some of them will give you points, some of them will let you move forward, some of them will give you a special ability based on the actual patient themselves, which is pretty cool. So lots of different options here, lots of great things that come with this, but none of this bogs down the game too much. You still play the game normally, and then you get an extra bonus phase. This isn't something where it's like, oh, do this, and if you don't do this by the end of the game, you'll fail. But notice that each of the conditions comes with a different set of bonuses. So you get to decide which one you're going to work with based kind of how you play your game. You're going to choose 3 and pick one of those 3. So you got options there. And that's what I love about Quacks is the complete variability. Every one of the ingredients comes with different, front and back and stuff. Also, the herb, which is, I forgot to mention, comes with loco weed, which basically is a thing that moves your space forward a little more. So not a ton of game changing, but what it does is it comes in this large box, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute in a separate phase that I normally don't even have in my reviews. Normally we have the in the studio and then out here shooting. But I'm going to show you one more phase because I think it's kind of important, and you can discuss what you think when it comes to putting this sucker on the shelf. So as you just saw, the overview of the game was actually more of an overview of the 2 expansions because I already have the base game. I love the base game. It's one of my favorites. In fact, the whole something of something games, or some of my Taverns of Tiefenthal is great too. Anything with a good alliteration in it is fun, especially a short alliteration. So Quacks of Quedlinburg, Taverns of Tiefenthal. These games are fun. But what makes this game great? Let's do like we would normally do in a review, even though we're talking about the Megabox, which is a game I've already reviewed plus the 2 expansions. But anyway, we'll break it down the same way. We do art, then art direction, and then gameplay. So first and foremost, art in this game is tremendous. Now, when I say art, I don't just mean the painted pieces on the board, like the actual board elements themselves, the cards. When I say art in this game, I'm actually referring to just all of the components all together, how they fit together. They're tremendous. They really, really are. But what makes this one great is the fact that also it's the pieces, like, so you have your cauldron, right? And then you have your little vial, and it sits right there on the spot. And then you have, for the alchemist, you have this nice little rack that fits right on top. And then the extra slot for the overflow, they call it, for the herb witches. Like, all of this fits together nicely, and it makes one nice picture. To me, when an expansion does that, or a game in general does that, pieces, parts together, makes the art match up perfectly, I love it. But when a game comes out with the expansions like this, it's even better. So first and foremost, the game looks great, even though it's a bag puller. You're a bag builder, bag puller. You're pulling chips out of a bag to hopefully push your luck to get the most points. Where this game shines is the simplicity. Now think about it. How many times have you had it where you said, oh good, we're having a 4-person game night. We've got a 4-person game planned. And then you look as you're opening the door and someone's like, hey, I brought my cousin. They were in town. And you're like, oh, that's great. Because you don't want to be rude. That's great. We're playing some games. You know what? How often do they play games? Well, they're pretty new to it. Boom. This is a perfect 5-person game because the Quacks of Quedlinburg Megabox comes with the Herb Witch expansion, which comes with a 5-player expansion. Now that's huge. 5's an odd number. A lot of games play 2 to 4 or 1 to 4, kind of. 2 to 4, right? So trying to find a good game that's 5 players is not often easy. In fact, we even tried to, when Carla redid everything in here, did the cool little X pattern of up-down, we tried to organize it by player count. It was too hard because we have too many games that don't fit anything above 4. So when you have a game that can fit 5 players, that's huge. So game art, art direction. So the one good thing about this is there's not a ton of symbols, right? Everything is listed right there. When you're playing, the pumpkins represent this turn because you can turn it front and back, and there's a couple different cards for it. It's a really simple game to learn. You pull the tokens out, you put them in your cauldron, and this is how far they move, right? So it's really, really simple to learn, and it's easy to teach new people. Plus, it's pretty forgiving because you can say, well, I'm going to hold back. And somebody else who's, an expert gamer can be like, no, I got this, and keep pulling, and boom, it blows up in their face. So Quacks of Quedlinburg is a great game that I just absolutely recommend to everybody to play. But if you're on the fence and you haven't got the base game, definitely get the Megabox. If you have the base game and the 2 expansions, you absolutely don't need this. There's no reason to own this because this is just everything for the game put together. But if you have the base game and the no expansions, this might be something you want to price out and see, okay, does it make sense for me to get the Megabox instead of going and trying to track down the Herb Witches and then the Alchemist, or does it make sense for me to just go track them down? Because I don't know the price breakdown on that. But really and truly, that's all that's different. You get those, nothing new, you get what's already in those games originally, but it's just all packaged together in this nice box. Now, I do like that it fits on my shelf in one single box. However, because it's Twilight Imperium 3 length, it does stick off the wall a little bit. So there's got to be a way to fix that somehow, but currently I don't have that way figured out. But anyway, Quacks of Quedlinburg Megabox. That's a great game. Now let's dive into the Neptune 3 review. This is a review I've been a long time waiting on. I haven't done a 3D printer review in a while, but before you skip the end of this video and you say, Brian, I'm not interested. Let me just tell you, a lot of people ask me, Brian, what is the machine to get into 3D printing for? Let me just stop right here and do the end of the review first. This is my favorite 3D printer. The Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro is without a doubt the most reliable printer I have. It is the easiest to use printer I have. It is the easiest to plug and play. It works perfectly. I've never had an issue with this because of a couple different factors. First of all, there's the auto leveling. You hit level and it just does it. Now, when I say that, if you're not familiar with what that means, you got to level your print bed so that the stuff can print out and make the design neatly, nicely. In the old days, and by that I mean everything I've had up until this point, you had to take a piece of paper and you had to put it under the hot end, lower it down, and then unscrew and screw in these little springs so that you hopefully, yeah, that feels about right. Oh, okay, this feels about right. And then by the time you get to the back one, your front one's out again. You have to redo it. It takes a 15-20 minute process that just is based purely on feel, and I've never loved it. However, the Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro, boy, that's a mouthful, is the most easy to use machine there is that I have. You just click level and it will level itself. And what I also love about it is the direct drive. So normally you have this Bowden tube, which means it's a long, like, I don't know, it's not PEX tubing, it's polybutylene or something like that. And you run the tubing through it and it goes down into the hot end. Well, some problems can happen there because if you get a clog in there, it has no room to move. And they're normal, they're fine. But this direct drive means that it goes straight filament into the hot end, straight into the hot end, and goes from there. To me, that's another just huge upgrade. This is the best machine I own, and I have bigger machines, as in ones that print, about 30% bigger each direction, up, down, left, right. If I can print it on this one, I'm going to do it every single time. First of all, this screen is the reason this is my #1 printer. This is an amazing screen that is just so user-friendly and handy. It moves, you can pick it up, you drop it on the ground like that. It's got this great cord on it, so you can pick it up, move it around. What I love is this self-leveling feature. If you hit level, it'll do it, and then it will level your print. Unlike having to do the paper or any of that stuff, it's just the best feature. And so as it levels, I have never had an issue with this printer because of the leveling. Now I'm going to be printing some Quacks of Quedlinburg boxes to show you to go with this review. That way it's kind of a 2-for-1 that's not unrelated, and we'll show you how that looks when they're done. So another thing I love is the direct drive. There's no Bowden tube, so it just runs straight into the hot end, which makes it a lot cleaner of a print. You see we're already getting those nice box details. So here's what's really cool about these bit boxes. They have these nice little cutouts here to put them in, and they're ramped and slanted so you can pull things out of here easy. So that slots in, and you can see your recipe really easily and nicely. And then the greatest thing is it's got this lid. If you want to store bits in there, it just slides right into place. All this was printed today on the Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro. Super detailed, nice print, very smooth print. Love that printer. I have not had a single issue with this. 100% go get an Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro. This is my review for it, and I'm so happy with this machine. I could not tell you a machine I've ever been happier with. And I have a lot of Elegoo products, and I have a lot of Anycubic products and Creality products. 100%. If anyone asks me, this is the machine I'm recommending. Now, there is an Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro Max. Boy, that's an even bigger mouthful that has the print volume. I don't have one of those. I'd like to get my hands on one of those because it prints 300 by 300 by 300, which you can do full-blown helmets. The Thor stuff you've seen me do, the Fennec Shans. That's really nice. But for game components and smaller printing, I say smaller, but it's still a good size, 220 by 220 by 200. It's still a really good size. But for those full-blown helmets and stuff, you're going to need a little bit more, and that's why the Pro Max is great. So I'm going to try to get my hands on that and hopefully be back with a review. So that is the Quacks of Quedlinburg's Megabox. Quacks is an 8.5 out of 10 for me already. The expansions are really, really great additions, and like I said, they don't bog the game down. They're meant to really elevate the game without it feeling like, oh, geez, this expansion makes it so much harder. Let's not play with that. These are two expansions that you feel like there's no reason to not play with, especially Herb Witches, because it doesn't change the game at all. There's no new phases or anything like that. You can pay a coin to get a benefit. So really cool. And then the Elegoo Neptune 3. This is 100% my favorite 3D printer I have ever owned. Resin, FDM, all the brands. If you are on the fence, go get this machine. Absolutely go get that. Or if you can find the Max and you want a bigger print volume, go get that one. So I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. And I will see you at Dice Tower East in just a little over a month and a half. Yeah, that's right. Come check out the booth. Come buy some merch, like these snazzy hats. Till then, we'll see you.